It's infinite.
He said it! He said it!
What's popping, my pimples? Welcome back to Wallace Probably. Infinite. He's a character that exists. But in all seriousness, Infinite is a pretty tragic character in my opinion. Coming from one of the worst Sonic games, he was set up to be an incredibly interesting character, but unfortunately was never able to meet his full potential. Or, in other words, the dude's a dork. However, thanks to the Chaotix Casefiles, his time for redemption is now. And you too can have the same type of redemption by subscribing to the channel. Thank you. Anyways, let me break down what led up to this moment, because there's a bunch of hilarious discourse I've kept track of before and after this reveal. So, for those of you who aren't aware of the Chaotix Casefiles, it's an audio drama about the Chaotix, who would have figured, who are trying to solve a mystery around a missing artifact known as the Red Spectre. Throughout this series, we see Vector, Charmy, and Espio brush shoulders with a bunch of characters that we don't get to see a lot in the franchise, and specifically in the games. This includes the likes of Vanilla the Rabbit, my one and only, Gemroll, Tangle and Whisper, as well as the Babylon Rogues, though with their return to the games in Sonic Racing Crossworlds, their inclusion here doesn't feel as insane. What I'm trying to say here is that a lot of these forgotten characters, or often not talked about characters, have been getting a spotlight shined onto them, and a character who fit this description perfectly was Infinite, and yet he was nowhere in sight. With the reveal of the Phantom Ruby in the 6th episode of the Casefiles, it tied back directly to Infinite in Sonic Forces. One of the Phantom Ruby's abilities throughout the game was making clones of existing characters. You had Shadow clones, Chaos clones, Metal Sonic clones, hell, even Zavok got clones for goodness sake, and you know how special that must have made his wash-up ass feel. Meanwhile, throughout the Chaotix Casefiles, you had multiple characters being in the same room with clones such as Tangle and Whisper, alongside Charmy, and probably many more that I'm certainly forgetting about. Hell, this whole series got started because it seemed as though Knuckles was stealing artifacts from a museum. All this to say, fans of Infinite, a character who's been practically MIA for the last decade, whose abilities matches what's going on in the whole story, having a chance at returning to the franchise after his unsatisfactory disappearance is something many Sonic fans and super fans of the character were celebrating. But with this, you also had some people raising questions, including Rouge the Bat and her role in the series. Throughout the Chaotix Casefiles, Rouge can be seen sneaking up on Espio to both flirt with him, wish that were me, and trying to swoon him into joining her in this case, but only if he ditches the Chaotix. Many people are theorizing this was actually Infinite, which unleashed a whole insane set of memes. While a lot of these theories aren't serious, it has caused for a lot of banger funnies on Twitter, taking the public's perception of Infinite from being a weak loser to having the hots for Espio. This happened in 24 hours, mind you. And again, while a lot of these are just seen as simple, lighthearted joke theories, there was some decent evidence showing that this could be, in fact, true.
Affirmative. I have never known to defeat PP. Omega? I am not PP. I am not
While a lot of people were excited about this potential theory being, in fact, real, what people seem to be more excited about is the redemption of Infinite himself. I'ma say it again. Forces basically ruined everyone's perception on Infinite, which is fair. However, it doesn't mean the character can't have a redemption. It's clear they're trying to tap into the potential of Infinite, and I'm all here for it. So, how was he ruined as a character exactly? Going back into Sonic Forces, Infinite was made out to be Sonic's most dangerous enemy yet. The dude had the ability to warp reality thanks to, again, the Phantom Ruby. This allowed him to create illusions, which led to Infinite kicking Sonic's ass at the start of the game, making it possible for Eggman to take over the world. Like, man, Chaos couldn't do this, Shadow couldn't do this, Metal Sonic couldn't do this. Bro, Zavok, no one gives a shit about that guy. You know, like, people were thinking Infinite was the real deal, the next big Sonic villain, the next baddie of the, okay, I don't like how I said that, the next real threat in the Sonic universe. but in reality, he only appears a handful of times throughout the already short game. His fights take like 2 seconds and could probably be beaten by like a kindergartner who never held a controller before, and his story barely explored his motives until the DLC, and that motive? He got his kicked in by Shadow once, and that one ass kicking made him go full anime supervillain. Bro was channeling his inner Sasuke because some kid picked on him at school. Like, can you see how underwhelming that is? So, when the 6th episode of the Case Files hinted at a possible return of the character, with practically guaranteed better writing than Enforces, I mean, dude, look at the Chaotix Casefiles writing. It's some of the best the series has ever had. People jumped on this and were excited. So excited that you had folks jumping onto streamers for not reacting with the same amount of excitement and then blacking out their Twitter and posting some emo tweets because said streamers responded to their slander. Dude, classic case of Tom Skull law. Anything you say online can and will be found by the person you said it about. And some of you, not all of you, but some of you not realizing this, like... Come on now. Regardless, over the next week, people waited for the next episode of the Case Files to see if they were correct about the character's return, or if they were delusional, like a Sonic fan getting mad at somebody for not being aware of a story posted on the Japanese Sonic website in Japanese that featured Infinite and just assumed said person was ignoring the story on purpose. Sorry, this week just had a lot of dumb discourse, and this one in particular is really funny. Well, episode 7 came out, and, well, you know what happened. He has returned. This is just f***ing incredible, man. I'm gonna cry. Holy sh**. The memes are real. Sega, Ian Flynn. I have the extreme honor to take over the mantle of Infinite in Sonic the Chaotix Casefiles. I've been working under Infinite all along. I love Peon. The reaction to episode 7 of the Case Files has been great. In fact, it's actually been pretty incredible. Infinite spoke more in this episode than he did in all of Sonic Forces, and that's not even a bit. He's voiced by Alejandro Sab, aka Sayu, a very vocal Sonic fan and VTuber who also voiced Gemroll in earlier episodes of the Case Files. He's also Akihiko in Persona 3 Reload and one of the main characters in Horimiya, an anime that I really do like, so shout out, bro. I'm winning with this casting. They cleaned up a lot of Infinite's character, his writing, his backstory, even his motive, giving this character, I know this is kind of cringy to say, a lot more aura. This just feels like a massive redemption for arguably the most fumbled Sonic character. I love Infinite for his unique design, but only when he keeps his mask on. Don't take that off ever again, please. Alongside his super interesting powers and just endless potential. And I'm not alone in this. Like you've seen throughout this video, he's got countless diehard fans who have been very vocal about how much they want this character to be done as justice. So to be here today to see the character's new beginning, I think is super rad. Whether this character only remains in the Case Files and gets sent back to the Sega Shadow Realm, or if he returns into future games, it's just great to see him get another chance in the spotlight. I'll share more of my thoughts on the Chaotix Casefiles in a future video, but for now, what are your thoughts on Infinite's return? What would you like to see from him going forward? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks to all my patrons for supporting the channel, and thank you for watching. Okay, bye!